Hey, 7th graders, Mr. Songer with you, and this is your makeup lesson for lesson number 12. And you're going to need for this lesson your accent on achievement book, and I'd like you to actually start out by opening up, if you're a woodwind or brass player, to your fingering chart. And percussion, you can open up to page 17, and we're going to start with snare drum for you, percussion, and we'll get to that in just a second, percussion. Fingering chart or position chart for the woodwind and brass, if you're looking around for it, there is right near the back. It's on pages 46 and 47. And one thing we talked about in your lesson is extending your range, getting better at playing both the lower end and the higher end of your instrument. And this would be a very long video if I went through this in detail for every instrument. So I'm just going to give you a couple things to do, and then I want you to play this for me in a recording so I can see how you're doing with it. And before we do this, just a couple things about range. First of all, it takes a lot of air. It takes a lot of air. You got to really take in a huge breath and send that air through your instrument in order to produce these notes. You have to sit with good posture. You have to have a good embouchure. You have to be doing everything correctly. All the good habits you've learned on your instrument you have to do in order to produce these notes. Second of all, you have to have a good ear. You have to hear what note you are playing. You have to understand, especially in the brass, where an open fingering or a first position on trombone can produce several different notes. You have to know exactly what note you want to have come out. So you have to listen and understand what note you're striving for. If you have some piano skills, you can go over to a piano and play the note and see if you're getting it. Keep in mind, clarinet and trumpet players, you always play one note lower on the piano than the note you're trying to get on your instrument. And saxophone players, you're playing a minor third higher. Some of you may not understand that concept yet, but if you have some piano skills, you can do that. Another thing, just keep in mind, higher and lower notes take some time. Sometimes they don't happen just right away, and if they do happen right away, sometimes they don't always happen with the best tone. It takes some work. Extending your range, just like anything, learning how to play fast, learning how to play really softly, it takes some time, and you got to practice that stuff. So don't get frustrated if you can't get it on the first try. It's going to take some work. Okay, so now just kind of going through the instruments. If you play flute, what I'd like you to do is take a look at that fingering chart. Look at your low F, E flat, and D, and see if you can play those three notes: F, E flat, and D. And then on the high end of things, flutes, see if you can play the high E flat, all fingers, high F, and high G, and see if you can get those three notes to come out. If you're an oboe player, I'd like you to try on your fingering chart the low F, the low E flat, and the low D. And then on the high end for the oboe, the high A, the high B flat, and the high C. If you play clarinet, I want you to check out the low F and the low E, those lowest two notes on the clarinet. And then on the high end, I would like you to try out that high B natural and C and D. Now when I say B, C, and D, I don't mean like way, way, way up high. I mean the high B on the middle line of the staff, the high C second space from the top, and the high D second line from the top on the staff. Okay? We've been working on those notes, clarinets. If you play any of the saxophones, I want you to work on the low D and the low C. And then on the high-end saxophones, the high D and the high E. If you play trumpet, I would like you to look at the low A and the low G. And on the high-end trumpets, I want you to try the high E, F, and high G above the staff. French horn, I'd like you to look at the low A and the low G. And then on the high end, I'd like you to look at the high D, E, and F. Trombones, baritones, tubas, I'd like you to look at the low G and the low F, way down low. And then on the high end, the high D, E flat, and F. Okay? So, and sorry, the bassoon. We don't want to leave out the bassoon. The bassoon, we're looking at the low G and the low F, and then we're looking at the high B flat and the high C. So those are the notes I want you to look at. What I want you to do then is to play those notes in a recording. So it should be a pretty fast recording. You have up to 6 notes depending on what instrument you play. And just play those notes for me on a recording. Let me see how you're doing with them. Let's make sure that you got the right fingering and see if you can get them to come out. So there you go. That's what I would like you to do for your makeup lesson for the woodwinds and brass. And then if you're a percussionist, on page 17, we have the song "O Canada," and that's part of your playing test. And it's number 56. And in that song, you have what's called a flam paradiddle. A flam paradiddle is when you go, I'll get my sticks out here, it's in the yellow box at the top of the page. Left, right on the flam, then left, right, right, and then the opposite. Right, left on the flam, right, left, left. So it's... Okay. On the song "O Canada" that you have for your playing test, you start with that flam paradiddle, sometimes called a flamadiddle. And the second measure is the flam roll 3. And then you have another flam paradiddle on the third measure and another flam paradiddle on the fifth measure. Let's try the first line together. Ready? Go. Okay, so that's the first line of that song. You'll notice that later on in the song too, there's some more flam paradiddles later. Okay, what I would like you to do, percussion, for your makeup part of this lesson is to play for me the first line of "O Canada." If you'd like to play the whole thing and get your playing test done, that's awesome, but you don't have to do that. Okay, so there you go. There's your makeup lesson, 7th graders. Good luck. Thank you.